The Hollow Archive. The planet had no name, at least not one he cared to remember. Officially, it was designated VX 981 in the colonial records, a barren rock granted to him in recognition of his service in the Core Wars, a war fought so far from home that, by the time it ended, the very world he fought for no longer felt like his own. Sergeant Cole Voss had been many things: a soldier, a survivor, a killer. Now, he was a settler. The dropship's thrusters had long since faded from the sky, leaving only the endless silence of his new world. A land of jagged black rock and rolling dunes of silver-gray sand. The air was thin but breathable. The wind howled low across the surface, carrying the distant groan of shifting stone. His cybernetic eye whirred softly as it adjusted to the dimness of the planet's twin suns, scanning the terrain in bands of infrared and motion tracking. The world was still empty. That was what he wanted. For weeks, he worked to build a home from the prefabricated modules dropped with him. It was functional, cold, a soldier's dwelling, a place without memories. At night, he sat by a fire, absently running a hand over the old scars on his forearms, feeling the rough, uneven texture. Some he remembered, others blurred together, lost in the chaos of battle. The cybernetic eye never closed, always faintly humming, always watching, even when he tried to sleep. Some nights, he would wake with his pulse hammering, fists clenched around the handle of his pulse knife, expecting the sound of plasma fire. But there was only silence. Then, on the 20th day, he found the structure, the archive. It rose from the desert like a bone jutting from flesh, massive, ancient, and utterly alien. The walls were smooth, dark metal, tarnished by time yet untouched by sandstorms. No markings, no windows, just a towering obelisk with an entrance carved into its face, wide enough to swallow a vehicle. Something about it unsettled him. It wasn't the first abandoned structure he had seen. During the war, he had marched through the ruins of civilizations erased by conflict, seen planets burned down to nothing but charred skeletons. But this was different. There had never been life here. So who built it? The doorway yawned open before him. The air inside was cooler, carrying the scent of metal and dust. But beneath that, something else of faint, organic musk, dry and brittle like the exoskeleton of an insect long dead. He took a step forward. His boots did not echo. That should not have been possible. The floor beneath his boots was impossibly smooth, made of some unknown alloy, but there were no signs of machinery. No power hum. No flickering lights. Still, his cybernetic eye detected movement. Not ahead of him, not behind. Beneath, somewhere deep below, something shifted. The silence became oppressive. His own breath was too loud, his heartbeat hammering in his ears. He tried to swallow, but his throat felt dry, parched as if the air itself drained him. Then, from deep within the structure, a sound reached him. A slow, deliberate tap, tap, tap. Metal on metal. Like something was waiting. The Hall of Records, the first chamber, was vast, its ceiling stretching so high that the upper reaches vanished into shadows. Massive, monolithic slabs of black stone jutted from the floor at irregular angles, each one covered in symbols that his neural implant struggled to translate. A soft chime echoed through the room as the implant finally deciphered a single phrase: the Hollow Archive. His pulse quickened. This was a record of something, but of what? The silence around him was absolute. His footsteps should have echoed in the vastness of the chamber, but instead they were dampened, as if swallowed by something unseen. Voss moved deeper. He heard whispers now, not in his ears, but inside his skull, faint, distant words just on the edge of understanding. Then he saw them. Rows of alcoves, each housing a translucent slab of material resembling glass, yet flickering like static. When he stepped closer, the nearest slab shimmered, then shifted, revealing an image. A creature, tall and gaunt, its skin a web of overlapping plates, its eyes hollow voids. A species he had never seen before. Another slab flickered to life beside it. Another being, this one massive, its flesh shifting in a kaleidoscope of color, tendrils coiled around a smaller, human-sized frame. Then he saw humans. The slabs changed again, displaying Earth as it was in the 2100S Megacities, piercing the clouds, oceans swallowed by mechanical platforms, colonies on Mars, Titan, Europa. Voss's breath came slow and controlled, but his chest tightened. This archive knew about his people. His cybernetic eye flickered as he reached for the interface, fingers hovering just above the flickering surface. Then the lights changed. A deep, pulsating glow filled the chamber, casting everything in a sickly red hue. The slabs dimmed, their records fading into shadow. And something behind him exhaled. The sound was low and dry, a rattling hiss as though dust itself had drawn breath. Voss turned slowly. In the doorway, the darkness shifted. A figure emerged from the void, tall, thin, its limbs too long, its body clad in something that absorbed light. It had no mouth, no nose, just eyes. Rows upon rows of black, unblinking eyes, and they were all looking at him. The sound of tapping returned, this time closer. Voss's instincts roared to life, pulse hammering, muscles coiling. Every fiber of his being screamed to run, to fight, to kill. But his body would not move. Not yet. The figure drifted closer, gliding without sound, moving as if the air itself carried it. Behind it, the other slabs flickered to life again, but this time they did not display records. They displayed him. His cybernetic eye glitched, flashing erratic errors. The thing smiled, not with a mouth, not with lips or teeth, but with its eyes. Voss's hand shot to his belt. But before he could grab the knife, the slabs shattered. The world went black. And in the void, a voice, not in sound, but in thought. A whisper coiling through his skull, like oil through water, spoke a single word. Understood. Epilogue. Voss awoke outside the structure, the twin suns rising above him. His pulse thundered in his ears. His cybernetic eye whirred, rebooting. The archive was gone. No door, no walls, just endless desert. And in his shaking hand, a single glass slab, its surface shimmering. On it, his own face stared back at him, except his remaining eye was missing.